GM. Welcome to Web3 Academy, your one trusted source to capitalize on the next big phase of the internet. Don't get caught in the hype cycle. I'm Jaybird, joined by my co-host Kyle Reedhead, and we believe that community is going to change the world. That's why we're carving a path for doers to confidently build and invest in Web3.
Say community is already changing the world. But yes, I agree with you completely there. And no one better to bring on to our show than Zeneca to talk about community. He's been on the show 3 times now. It's probably the most. Maybe Jeff Kaufman actually has been on more than Zeneca. But anyway, this was an amazing episode, actually. It was not what I expected it to be. It ended up being very sobering, very motivating, very touching at the end. Zeneca is just such a great guy. And, you know, he's one of the good ones in this space. And it's just great to pick his brain, hear his journey in Web3. And really just, if you're a founder, you are part of a business, just to hear kind of his stories of the ups and downs of bull markets and bear markets and, you know, his winnings and his losses. It's always great to hear those stories because you can relate it back to yourself. You can apply it into the future. And so there was just a lot to take away from this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting how you come into an episode with a framework in mind. And the main theme of this episode was to talk about Zen Academy's recent PFP launch, which they just launched they revealed a month ago, Denny Zens. And we wanted to talk about why Zen Academy, and Zen talks about how they spent a year creating this PFP collection and why they decided to do that. And does it make sense? If you're a business, should you be launching a PFP? What are the pros and cons of it? How do you think about it? And so we talk a lot about that. But then this episode also just extended, as Kai said, way beyond that into, I think, the areas of being a founder, of being a business leader, of being a builder in any business that we don't talk about enough, which is the struggles, the ups and the downs. And so we very much highlight those as well. One thing just to quickly mention before we jump into this show is the other reason why we have Zeneca on the show is that next week in the On-Chain Gift Shop, this is week 3 of the On-Chain Gift Shop. I hope you participated in week 1 and week 2, but if you didn't, don't worry. We got big opportunities coming up next week. It is Community Week, and we are highlighting 2 of the best communities in the space, Zen Academy and Web3 Academy. No, we did not pick the 2 that both have Academy in their name. That just happened to be the case. But you can enter the On-Chain Gift Shop next week if you do one of 2 things. If you have a Denny Zen, which is the PFP that Zen Academy just launched, if you have a Denny Zen, then you can enter the On-Chain Gift Shop starting tomorrow, Thursday, for a week. Or if you collect the Web3 Academy newsletter, you can also enter the On-Chain Gift Shop. When you get into the On-Chain Gift Shop, here's what you're going to find. You're going to find a raffle where you can win some really amazing prizes. We've got almost $1,000 in prizes in there, including 3 Zen chests. Zen chests are the black box, so to speak, the NFT that if you get a Zen chest, you can decide to burn it. And if you burn it, it burns to reveal into a Denny Zen. And as such, you'll be able to enter Zen Academy. You'll have an NFT that has value. You'll hear in this episode, we talk a little bit about the end of what it's going to be like in the next bull run. Are NFTs and PFPs going to go up in value? Where does this all go? What is the purpose of them in a community? But yeah, really excited to be partnering with Zen Academy next week in the On-Chain Gift Shop and to be highlighting them.
And for those of you, the links are in the show notes for the On-Chain Gift Shop and then also for the newsletter in case you don't have a Denny Zen, you want to get one, or you want to win some of the other prizes. The link to the newsletter that you can mint, which is one of the Web3 Academy's newsletters on Paragraph, you can collect that. Also, the link is in the show notes there. Once you collect it, then you can go to the On-Chain Gift Shop and you can get into the raffle there. So plenty of ways to get in, and we hope that you all will enjoy it. And we're excited to give out some of these gifts. It's going to be really cool. And I think the big question is, we have a poll today, and this poll is, if you were to win the chest, would you burn it or would you not burn it? We actually, I don't know if this was on air when we talked about it, but I for sure would burn it. Jay is one of the people who doesn't necessarily always burn. But I want to know your answer, so please answer that right now while you're listening to the rest of this episode.
Great question. Enjoy today's episode, everybody. Before we jump in, we'll just take a minute to hear from our sponsor. Modern newsletters are built on Paragraph. That's right. Paragraph is a brand new newsletter platform that combines the best parts of Web 2 and Web 3 to supercharge newsletters for both writers and readers. Build a community, not just an audience. Paragraph uses blockchain tech to allow readers to collect and own the words that matter to them. This takes reading a newsletter to the next level. With Paragraph, readers can mint, collect, and show off quotes from their favorite newsletters. This opens new possibilities like creators sharing revenue with fans. I also love their new feature, Paragraph AI. This integrates GPT-4 natively in Paragraph to create, edit, and improve your writing effortlessly with one click. And guess what? We at Web3 Academy are on board and have already moved our content over to Paragraph. We believe this is the future of newsletters because of the profound engagement it creates between creators and fans. So, whether you're a creator, writer, or an avid reader, it's time to check out Paragraph and capitalize on the opportunity of being early. GM Zeneca, welcome back to Web3 Academy.
GM, thanks for having me back. Excited to be here.
Third time on the show. For those who have not heard the two previous shows with Zeneca, we had one, it's basically every 6 months. It's almost like we've got a good rhythm going on now. So you can go 6 months ago and then a year ago, and you can go listen to those. Don't call us out on any of the things that we said back then that didn't come true. Things change fast in this space. Let's just start from the beginning. For those who don't know you, can you just give us a little bit of a background? How did you initially build your following and become a leader in the Web3 space?
Yeah, it was not something I set out to do. So like real quick background, I was a professional poker player for about 15 years before finding my way into crypto, and then dabbled in 2017, and then 2021 is when I really went all in. And I really just started out like most people, just like trying to learn and then just figure out what the hell is this DeFi thing, and what are all these coins and tokens and these NFTs that seem like a scam? Are they a scam? What's going on there? And then like trading and flipping and, bumbling my way through and losing some money, making some money, all that kind of stuff. And then basically somewhere around like June 2021, I started writing. I've always been a writer. I like writing. And so I started the newsletter and I started putting some Twitter threads out. And it was some combination of absolute crazy bull market, not many people creating content, and me being a content creator, just writing sensible things. That it was like this perfect storm that really made things explode, and just like, it just blew up beyond anything I could possibly have conceived. And that's how it all began. Yeah.
And so then what made you want to start Zen Academy? What's sort of the origin story there?
Yeah. So like going back to around that June, July time period, I had been doing like a lot of flipping of NFTs, and like, 18-hour days, wake up, go straight to computer, be on all the time, go to sleep, and sometimes in the middle of the night wake up, and it was just like intense. It was crazy, and it was in many ways similar to poker. Like, having done poker for 15 years, obviously the majority of my poker career was not crazy like that. It was pretty regular, normal, and work-life balance as much as you can have. But in the early days of poker, and definitely sometimes later, it was like crazy intense periods, and also very money driven, very PvP. You're trying to make money, and if you make money, other people kind of have to lose money and things like that. And it never felt rewarding or fulfilling as a poker player. Like that's something I just never reconciled with. One thing the world doesn't need is professional poker players. And so I think it's true. But like as humans, I think we all want to feel like we have a purpose, a greater purpose, or doing something to add value to the world. That's what brings, I think, value and meaning to people's lives. And so I never really found that as a poker player. And then trading and flipping JPEGs was not really doing much for me either in that respect. It was fun and exciting and hectic and profitable, but it wasn't scratching that itch. And but what was my content, like writing my newsletter and like realizing that people are reading the things I put out there and getting value out of it. It was like this, it's like, what is this warm, fuzzy feeling inside? I'm helping people. That's weird, but I like it and I want to do more of it. That's where I started thinking in mid 2021, should I be like taking a little bit of a step away from the trading and the degen side and doubling down on content and writing and things like that. And then I thought, if I want to do that, how should I do that? I can just keep my newsletter going. I could try and build something bigger. And that's kind of where the idea for Zen Academy was born from.
Can you give us any sort of like high level stats on your NFT trading period? Like, I know one thing that I'm always impressed with is how many NFTs you still have. I know
I have way too many.
Like thousands, right? How many?
Thousands, tens of thousands. It's hard to actually know because what happened for a long time, I don't know if it still happens, but basically I would get a lot of spam and junk sent to my wallet. And it's like, a lot of it was like scammers trying to trick other people, and they think, oh, Zeneca bought this, I'm going to buy it. And there were ways they could like trick OpenSea into making it seem like I minted the thing, and people would copy trade. And so like there was a period where I was just getting one every minute or something like really crazy, just like sent. My wallet number count is completely off. I really genuinely don't know how many I've actually bought or like are meaningful NFTs, but it's definitely in the thousands. And in terms of trading, it was a crazy year. I went from, I didn't have that much money to begin with. It was like in the realm of 10 or 15 ETH that I had from 2021 that I'd, held all the way up and held all the way down to 80, and I just kept holding. And so I kind of started with that. I lost a bunch doing bad DeFi things, and gas was so expensive and I didn't know what I was doing. But basically that plus 10 or 20,000 of my own money I added in. At the peak in 21, it was like over $10 million. It was like 8 figures, which was ridiculous.
Wow.
And then I lost, a lot of it back because that's the market, round tripping. And actually it was the capital gains. And so I used to live in Germany, and they have this thing with 12-month capital gains. If you hold for 12 months, you don't pay tax. And I was like, well, I'm just hold. And it sort of bit me in the ass a little bit, but I had a strategy and I stuck to it, and it was should have just paid all the tax. But yeah, like obviously it's still been absolutely incredible to me, and I've been very, very, very lucky considering where I started at and what I have now. So I can't complain at all, but it was a crazy ride.
Thanks for sharing. It's like, yeah, wow, incredible. Okay, let's come back to Zen Academy. So you decide that you want some more purpose. You don't just want to flip JPEGs forever. I think very much fits your persona. You've always been, I would say, one of the leading influencers in the Web3 space that really focuses on, living your purpose and doing good and being yourself and positive vibes. These are all things that you always talk about through all your content. So that leads you to start Zen Academy. Just give us a little bit of, without going too deep, what is Zen Academy? What was the initial launch?
Yeah, the initial launch was in November 21, and basically I didn't know what it was going to be or what I wanted it to be. And so I was just brutally honest and upfront telling people, this is an experiment. There's no roadmap. There's no plan. There's no X, Y, or Z. It's like, there's a Discord server. That's what we have. We have a community, and we're going to try and sell a membership token, and we're going to try and do cool things and interesting things with it. And if you're along for the journey, then pick up a token. And if not, then we're still going to have like a free avenue to be a member in some capacity or other. And so that's where we started from. And that's kind of where we still are today. Like over the last 2 years, we've done all sorts of things, created courses, paid courses, free courses, multiple newsletters, held lots and lots of events, IRL and online, and still hold weekly events, and all with like this North Star of education and sort of helping people and connecting people one way or another. But yeah, it started out with no plan. And honestly, it's still kind of in that experimentation phase now where we've tried a lot of things and realized, well, that's a lot of stuff that doesn't work. And trying to bring it back now again to like really solely focus on like the education and the content and the community, the Discord and the events that we run.
Mm-hmm. And I think one thing that's worth noting for those who don't know the early stages of Zen Academy is initially the NFT metadata, the image, the JPEG, was just an open letter at a time when so many projects were art or a PFP. You were unique in that it was an ERC 1155, like a multi-edition, and it was just this, as you well described it, it was an open letter that basically said, hey, I'm going to do something. If you want to come on board, but no promises, no expectations. That was around the time that I joined it. I think I joined in about 6 months after you first launched Zen Academy, and really felt right away the sense of community. Everybody in that Discord, and also at the events. I remember at NFT NYC back in 2021, the energy was just incredible and everybody was so excited to see everybody. And it was just a bunch of internet strangers that didn't really know each other, but were so pumped. So, okay, you build this community, you do so with this open letter as the NFT. And then about 12 months ago, you tell me exactly when, you decided to create a PFP.
Yes, about 12 months ago.
12 months.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And so when we launched the NFT in 21, I very intentionally did not do a PFP because I looked around and like everyone was dropping PFPs and I said, you know what? We don't need more PFPs in the market. The market does not need. I thought this back in June 21, let alone November. And so I said, let me just put a letter out there and make it straightforward and easy and different. And it served us well. But what I realized over the course of the following year was there are a lot of benefits to having a PFP. The community cohesiveness on Twitter or even in Discord, the identity piece that people can connect with their specific PFP and feel a deeper connection to that, to the art, to the community. There are a lot of benefits. And so I'm still grateful that we did it the way we did it. I think launching a PFP in 21 would have been the wrong move. But basically about a year ago, spoke with the team. We said, should we maybe do a PFP? And we weighed pros and cons and thought about it and said, you know what, we think it'll be good because we've got a community, we've built the community, and now it's like giving them a PFP that if they want can use to represent themselves and really just strengthen or deepen the community element. And so, yeah, with that in mind, about a year ago, we set off on this journey that it took us about a year. I was not expecting it to take as long as it did, but you know, when you say man plans and God laughs, and that's basically what happened, where we had these plans and you know, nothing works out the way you think it does. But ultimately, I'm so thrilled and proud of the finished product we put out there. So it all worked out, I think.
Before we go deeper down the PFP story, I'd love to just hear a little bit about the story of, so it was you launched in 2021, I think you said November, and then that was basically the top of the market. Well, at least the top of like the crypto market, maybe not NFTs. They kind of went a little bit longer after that. But curious what that journey's been like for the last, almost 2 years now. In a bear market, running a business has been difficult. I mean, we've had a lot of people on the podcast that have said the same, but you managed to do quite well. You've launched this new PFP, which we'll talk about, which did amazing. So tell me a little bit about that story of just like going through this bear market while still building a business. What did you notice?
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough. Like, it's been brutal. Like, it's not just a bear market, but like royalties have basically disappeared, that was the entire plan from day one. Like I looked around and I was like, the reason I launched an NFT and really decided to do it was the majority of my like popular content was on my newsletter and I guess Twitter. But like what most content creators were doing was paid newsletter or Patreon or something like that. And I thought Web3, I mean, or like neck deep in NFTs. How about I try and experiment with an NFT and see if this model can work? And royalties was the way to make that work, to my mind at the time. And so those disappearing has made things tough. And so the journey has been highs and lows. And I think that, you know, made many, many, many mistakes, from probably over hiring during the bull market, I think like a lot of people, to treasury mismanagement, keeping too much in ETH and, you know, oh, we're a crypto native company, let's keep ETH. And, you know, before it was just me starting out. And then like all of a sudden now we have a team and then I'm like, oh crap, I got to get USDC, but ETH has crashed. And like, all that kind of stuff that I think a lot of people deal with, paying lawyers way too much to make sure that things are right. Like there's a lot of issues behind the scenes. But the one thing that I think has been strength over strength is the community and like the quality of the people that keep showing up and turning up and being part of the Discord and engaging with us. And I'm so proud of like all we've accomplished over the last 2 years. Like we've done a lot of good, I think, genuinely, like helped a lot of people. And that to me is what makes me feel like if I could go back and knowing what I know, I would definitely do some things differently, but I also don't regret it because I really have seen like a lot of positive come out of the last 2 years. I feel a library with things I've learned and the mistakes I've made, but that's, you know, first time founder and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you know, it's been tough. We've had to go through rounds of layoffs and cut the team size back and, you know, drop projects and refocus our vision and all sorts of things. But it's honestly like we're still around, and that's something that can't really be said for a lot of projects from 21. So I think I'm just grateful for that and continuing to figure it out.
And I think a big part of that probably is the fact that you didn't launch PFP and instead you said, we don't know what we're going to do. Yeah, we're going to do it. And we're going to do it together. And so I think you focused on community from the beginning, whereas most projects from 2021 focused on hype, right?
Yeah.
Like we got some art, we got something, and we're just going to hype this thing up. And hypes only work in bull markets. They don't work in bear markets, but building real strong community like you did continues to work in a bear market, right? And so I would say that's probably like the number one thing that you did was you focused on community first, which is, I mean, kudos to you for that. It's not easy to do that in 2021 when you could launch anything and you could make a ton of money.
Yeah. I mean, there were many, many moments, even today, it's always tempting to like do a thing that gets you short-term gain. And especially in a bull market, is like, oh, you just tease the token, you tease something that speculate like airdrop or whatever. And, you know, there were times that we teased a little bit here and there, but I think for the most part, we were pretty good about being very reserved and not, like we never mentioned, I'm pretty sure to date, I've not mentioned floor price publicly once. And it's like pretty trying not to address that and just realize that there's certain things in our control, and that's like what we do and what we can put into the community, and floor price is entirely out of our control. So don't really talk about it.
Just want to go back quickly to the royalties disappearing, just to paint that picture a little bit more. How much were you making in royalties versus how much are you making now?
It varied a lot because obviously month to month depends on the number of sales and all that. But, you know, anywhere from like 15 to like $50,000 a month. Probably at our peak was probably our biggest month, maybe 40,000. I can't exactly remember. And now it's like a couple thousand if we're kind of lucky. Yeah.
Wow. Then that's your lead revenue stream. And
yeah, it's like
it disappears like that. Like
we saw the writing on the wall June of last year. Like I wrote this big newsletter piece on royalties because like SudoSwap had just come out, and this was before Blur even launched, and Blur hadn't even like, I was advising them, and like internally there was no decision made on royalties at that point. But I could still just tell that, you know, one, this is a race to the bottom, just nature of free markets and flippers and degens and how liquidity works. And so for a year plus, we've been trying to explore different revenue streams. We tried consulting as a business. We tried launching like media products, like a daily Twitter space, and trying to monetize via sponsors and like leaning more into newsletters and even affiliate links and all sorts of things. And none of it really worked out, which is like, it's so tough to make a sustainable business. And I think part of it was because of the journey we took, where it was like, it was so easy or relatively easy making money with royalties for those few months. And it like, I had not really experienced the realities of a bear market, and B, just bringing in sustainable revenue via a non-royalty or non-NFT sale mint. And like a lot of other projects would drop additional NFTs and do more sales and raises. And I didn't want to do that either. So, you know, we kind of made it hard on ourselves, but it's not something I particularly regret. It's just, realities of the market.
So let's go back to the PFP. And this is actually a good angle to come at it from, is the financial side. So you mentioned, you know, you're running a business, you've got a team that you need to, you know, pay salaries and keep happy and put food on their plates. And that's difficult. I mean, Kyle and I both know well the challenges of driving revenue and increasing revenue and keeping a business growing. It's not easy. I mean, Kai and I, Web3 Academy is our second business. Thankfully, like both of our businesses together have been successful. Most of that thanks to Kyle and his big brain. But he's the visionary. I'm just the nice guy. But you decided to launch a PFP, which at that point, no royalties. So I'm curious, just before we go into the community side of launching a PFP, because that definitely, there's a lot of benefit to launching a PFP on the community side. And I want to talk about that from the perspective of, should other founders think about launching PFP? But on the financial side, I'm curious, like, how did you think through this? Because obviously you had to hire an artist, it took you a year, like there's a lot of time, a lot of resources put towards that. Did you have a plan for financial gain off this? Or how did you think about the potential to either make financial rewards, or was there something else that you thought would come from it?
Yeah, there's a few different pieces at play there. So I'm always a fan of, if you're trying to launch an NFT project or collection or something, you need to wait until 2 weeks before mint day or launch day before you really know, can you monetize? How much can you monetize? Like you can, like certainly couldn't really realistically plan a year out, 9 months out. Maybe like 2-3 months out, you start planning for that and letting people know. But so like all cards were on the table from the get-go. We were like, and this was not when it was 100% sure royalties were dead. Like this was a year ago, and it looked like they were going away, but there was like some speculation that we're going to have like marketplace blockers and filters, and can we sustain them for a while longer? And so like all that sort of came into play, and we did make a little bit of money off royalty revenue, I think, for the first few months, or like additional money because we were doing a PFP, but it was not particularly significant. And we sort of went back and forth on, do we want to charge the community for this? Is this something we don't charge for? Is it a secondary mint? Do we increase the supply? All options were on the table, but it took longer than I think we initially thought it was going to take. And ultimately, it just came down to, it just didn't feel like it would be the right thing to do to charge for it for a few reasons. A, because of where the market was at and everyone's strapped for liquidity. B, because then no matter what price we set it at, that's a new benchmark and expectation that we sort of have to try and live up to. And I didn't want to put that on myself or the team and anything like that. It's just a nice thing to be able to give someone a free PFP. And it's very different to have community members who bought and held and were part of the community, especially people who bought on secondary for like higher prices, and then say, oh, now you also have to pay to get your PFP. And so it's either like, airdrop everyone one for free or a free claim, and then another 5 or 10K minted and double the collection size, which I think would not do well because we've all seen what happens with high collection sizes. And I think our collection size is already kind of on the high end. So yeah, we said we wouldn't. What we did end up doing is we said we'll mint the balance to our treasury and just like keep a bunch for, if in the future the floor price goes up, then we can figure out some scheme to, sell off a little bit and bring in revenue that way. But that way we only really make money if the collection is doing well price-wise. I also knew that deep down, ultimately, no matter what, Zen Academy is not going anywhere. Like as long as I'm around, I'm still turning up and can contribute content and time and run events and stuff. We'll still have the community. And like the community members, I'm pretty sure not going anywhere. And so absolute worst case scenario, even if I am the only person left, and then we have very little in the way of expenses. We don't have payroll. We don't have too much more. And everything is kind of going right back into the community. So there's always that pathway forward where I didn't want to raise, another 500,000 or $1 million and then have, I'm a believer that, especially now, that if you have the money, you'll spend the money. And if you don't have the money, you'll find a way to make it work without the money. And I think that I'm just, more in line of the scrappy and bootstrappy, and let's just make it work and figure it out. Because if we had another, let's say 500,000, we probably would have kept more people on the team and spent another year trying a bunch of stuff, and a lot of it probably wouldn't work out, where now we're like forced into figuring something out.
So you guys did a free mint. The idea is if it works out, you have basically some equity in it by holding back some of the collection and keeping it in the treasury, which is very smart. Jay and I always said that was a great way to do it because it aligns everyone's incentives, right? So I actually really love that way. Outside of that then, and then potential royalties, I guess, that could come from it, is there other, like, why else launch a PFP then? Outside of maybe the financial, or maybe there's another financial revenue stream that we're not thinking of, but like, why else is this a beneficial thing to launch the PFP?
Yeah, I mean, there's the intangible financial benefit where if it strengthens the community and works as marketing and brand awareness, then it could just grow the community. And then like other products and services and things that we launch, we might just get auxiliary benefits from that way. And all the floor price might go up, and then, good things can happen. Maybe royalties come back in some form or whatever. But that was pretty secondary. The primary reason for doing the PFP was just originally just to reward the community and strengthen it. And then as time went on, and it took a lot longer than I think any of us expected from day one. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. It just got to the point where it's like, all right, now obviously we have to do it. We've said we're going to do it, and we're working towards it, and it's coming together nicely. And it's just, yes, it's taking longer and costing more, but we're going to get it done. And we just want to deliver something that we're proud of. Like we could have delivered 2 months earlier and it just wouldn't have been nearly as good. But now it's out there, and now I think we've got incredible art, and we've got, a nice backstory of lore and a world built out that we, in conjunction with the community, can turn this into something special. It might not happen. It might just fizzle. So much is out of anyone's control. But like, I see people with the denizens on Twitter. I see people building lore and stories and really connecting with their characters. I see new people joining and adopting denizens as their PFPs. And I think that, it took us 2 years to get here. It might take another 2 years and another market cycle. But, if we stick around and really just stick together, I think really good things can happen. And a PFP just makes it that much more social and cohesive.
Gives more opportunities, I think, in the end, right? Depending on what you want to build. I guess to summarize for those who might not be completely following, the great thing that you guys did is you just proved that NFTs have utility without the PFP side of it, right? Like a lot of people were just speculating on pictures before, and we'd always been saying, hey, you don't need to do that. And that's exactly what you guys is. You use the NFT for membership access. That's it, right? Yeah. And that's why people bought it. That's why it did well. Again, as Jay said, the image was just an open letter, but there is some benefits to the PFP side of things, right? Now, it doesn't make sense to buy a PFP just to have a PFP, but it makes sense if that PFP is also a part of a membership like you guys have. And that's why you launched this PFP. Now, like you said, people can use it for their Twitter accounts, for Discord, for whatever, which gives additional branding over to Zen Academy, probably brings people more together because they can find others who are in the community where they otherwise, it's quite difficult to do that. And then because you have a face to the project now, you could do other things. I don't know what the plans are, and maybe that's what you can share here, but when you have a face and you have sort of like a PFP, you can start to do metaverse type things. You can do gaming things. You can do IP. You can do a lot of things. So interested to hear what's like, do you have plans for that yet? Or is it one of those things we're going to launch and we'll figure it out later?
It's definitely figure it out later. I'd say we
love that.
We actively don't have plans to do anything in that vein. When we launched in 21, there were thoughts of like, should we buy some land in the sandbox and build like a metaverse academy and things like that? And I'm very glad that we didn't go down that route because I think everything's crashed and would have spent a lot of money and all that kind of stuff. And now we're at a point where it's like, so basically like 5 months ago, I had this like wake up moment where I said, what are we as a company? And like, what are we really doing here? And I realized that like education and content had to be our North Star and pillar and like our single one. We can't have 6 different pillars and try and work. We just needed to pick one lane and stick in it. And so gaming, metaverse, DAOs, even like IP and storytelling and comics, and like that's not our wheelhouse. That's not mine. I'm not expert at any of that stuff. I wouldn't feel comfortable. I barely held it together with the PFP. It was thankfully like the team really had my back and helped project manage and figure out lore and help with the art stuff. Like there were so many great people helping with art and stuff. But yeah, moving forward, it's like the focus is content. It's education, it's content, it's courses, it's community. It's like these types of things and weekly events and helping people learn and navigate this space. That's our focus. And I don't envision that changing. I don't think we will do anything metaverse. Like metaverse is an interesting term because in a sense, we're all in the metaverse. Discord is part of the metaverse. Like if technology in a few years, like everyone's in VR, then yes, we'll be part of them. But we're not going to actively spend time and resources building specifically for the metaverse or gaming or any other IP route. But we will help and encourage any community members that want to build out their IP and things like that.
Talk a little bit more about that. I think it's something that I've noticed after you launched the PFP, which we should mention is called Denizens. I'm not sure if we said that. And we teased in the intro already that we are going to be giving away some Zen chests, which you can burn into some Denizens. So listen to the end of the episode where you can find out how you can win one. But since you launched the Denizens, you have been sort of doubling down on helping the community amplify and use their Denizen, which I think is a very interesting strategy because you mentioned that is really, a PFP is really an amplifier, right? Because it's something that your community is going to use across platforms. Hopefully, if they're going to use. Obviously, I think a lot of us have many PFPs, but if you think about Reddit, PFPs have become such a core part of your identity on Reddit. And that's only growing as we spend more time online and more time on platforms. What have you been doing to help your community use their PFP and build out their own brand?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like when such a big part of the reason for doing a PFP was to strengthen the community and bring it all together, I think it makes sense for us to devote a bunch of time and energy into helping and supporting people that adopt the Denizen as a PFP. So I think first and foremost, it's just genuinely being appreciative of anyone that changes their, like, it's a big thing to change your PFP, especially at this point. There's not many new people joining the space now. So not many people are coming in and their first NFT and PFP is going to be a Denizen. There's been a couple and that's been awesome. But most people, they've had a PFP for a year or two. And like, to change at this point, it's like, there's no feeling in the world like it. Like, if you have your own collection and someone changes it, it's like the best feeling. And I'm just so appreciative of it. So supporting them, following them, helping them grow on Twitter, adding them to a Twitter list, telling other people about them, retweeting them, all that kind of stuff. But then specifically in Discord, last month, we've run a challenge. We call it the September Personal Brand Challenge, where having a weekly call, me and Emily, who's our head of marketing and branding and everything, we'll have a weekly call where we help people learn about different topics related to branding and Twitter growth and social platforms. And so for the people that do want to build their own platform, we're actively helping them, answering questions, sharing our advice and our paths. We have a bunch of Discord channels where I'll post tips and we'll chat and do like profile reviews. And just, if someone wants to grow on social media and they want help and just advice, either from me or Emily or from others in the community, then we've just set up that infrastructure. And it's been wonderful watching people turn up to these. You know, we get 20, 30, 40 people sometimes in these calls. And there's just a bunch of people that are interested in learning about this stuff and growing on social platforms. It's not always Twitter. Some people are more focused on YouTube or other platforms, but we're all about encouraging that and helping people. And yeah, we're doing that again this month, and it's been really nice to see.
Same theme this month or a new theme?
Same theme this month. We basically just ran it back again and said, so the personal branding, we call it Brand School, weekly call. I think we'll just keep going forever, basically. And the challenge is just generally growing your profile on Twitter specifically, but we'll help people on any platform.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to sort of summarize a few things here for our listeners, because I think there's been a lot of great things said here. One of the first things you said was the importance of building community first and then PFP second. And I think that everybody who's listening, don't forget that, right? You don't start with a PFP, because a PFP does not build a community. It did in PFP NFT mania, because a whole bunch of people thought they could make a bunch of money. Oops, we were all wrong. Well, some of us, I'm sure, were right, but most of us were wrong, myself included. So you do community first, PFP second, if you believe that that is a path to amplifying your community. A PFP does not have to be a game or a metaverse project, although we have seen many people say and try to go down that path. But I think as we know so well, everything starts with community, right? When you have strong community, you can build anything on top of community. And this is the last point I want to make here is, once you build community, then you just start to layer on top things that help your community be better at living their lives, whether it be in their work, whether it be in their personal lives. And that's where the strongest communities have continued to thrive and to grow. The best communities aren't the ones that have the big hype. Sure, they might be the ones you hear a lot about, but they're not the ones that people have that, oh, I'm never going to leave this. This has become a part of who I am. And that really comes from you as a founder and your team constantly just giving back. And I'm sure when you started, you probably weren't thinking, oh, we're going to run a brand school, right? Like that was
It really wasn't.
I doubt that was anywhere on the bingo card for this year.
It was not.
Right? But you saw an opportunity to help amplify your community, to help them grow, and boom. So you ran a brand school, and it aligned with the launch of the PFP. I think that there's just a lot of us in Web3 get caught in hype. Like, it's just inevitable, right? Yeah. That's where the speculation goes. That's where the money goes. I mean, a lot of people are caught in the SocialFi hype right now. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are going to get wrecked there. I think from the beginning, Kyle and I have said this a lot, is we've recognized that tokens have an ability to build community in a much different way than Web2 did. Web2 community was owned by the platform. I could go down, I could list off all the reasons why Web2 community didn't work, but tokens allow community to be built differently. It allows identity to be built differently. It allows governance. It allows all these different things that you couldn't do in Web2. And that's why I think it's so important to always come back to that as your base layer is focused on community. I'm curious, if you were to go back again, and you mentioned this, you would do some things differently. What would you do differently?
I think I honestly would just launch as a monthly subscription to join Zen Academy and incorporate NFTs at a later stage. Something like...
So you would do a Web3 Academy?
Right. There you go. Yeah. There you go. You nailed it. It's so much smarter than... It worked well for the first 6 to 12 months, and then it really hasn't. And I think that the opposite approach is it's so much more sustainable. And so that's like the biggest thing that I would change. I think the sort of offering and experimental nature of it, I think would probably have to have been tweaked as well. Like, people are less likely to spend $50 a month or $20 a month or $10 a month on, hey, we have nothing planned here, but like we have to promise a little more. But like even just Discord access is probably enough to have gotten over the line. And so that's probably the biggest thing. And then I think like team size, scaling and things like that would have been done a little differently. But yeah.
What is the collection size?
Denizens are 10K max possible size, but people have to burn their Zen chest to reveal a denizen. And so some of them are just in wallets that people have left the space, they're tuned out, they're disinterested, et cetera, et cetera. But some people just want to hold on to the unrevealed Zen chest. It's like unopened Pokemon cards or Magic the Gathering cards, or it's a massive thing in collectability. You like the reveal. And so I'm virtually certain there will never actually be 10,000 denizens out in the wild. There's like 2,500-ish now that have been burned in the first month. So we'll see where we get to. But yeah, max possible at 10K, currently sitting about 2.5.
And does a Zen chest get you access to the community as well? So
yes, it does.
So I don't have to burn my...
You don't have to burn. The utility, I wanted to make sure that the utility was the same, because I know some people don't want to burn. They like the mystery, the collectability, the holding on.
I want to sort of take a step back from Zen Academy now and look at bigger picture of other projects in the space. What do you think the future of PFPs is? I mean, actually, I'm just going to generally ask that question. I'm going to let you, I was going to give you more specificity, but I'll let you take it how you want.
I think the future of PFPs is incredibly bright in the sense that they're not going anywhere. But PFPs have been around for decades. Avatars, online avatars, like video games, online forums, a lot of people used avatars. And before Facebook and social media, it was, no one used their face. It was very weird to use your face as a PFP. And then, social media came along and it became kind of normal to have your face out there. But prior to that, it was PFPs or avatars of whatever variety. Even now in the Facebook era, a lot of people choose not to use their face. They'll pick something else. So PFPs are not going anywhere. NFTs as PFPs are also not going anywhere. I think that's a powerful identity piece, a way of being part of the community. I think what's going away is the crazy, highly speculative nature of financialization towards them and the collectability of most of them. I think it was always unsustainable, and I think we'll never see that era again. I think projects will give out free NFTs because they want people to represent their community. There'll be different models of PFPs being incorporated. People experiment with when like virtual worlds come into play more. There'll be different skins and masks, and what I envision is like 5 years from now, you just subscribe to a service and you can just pick and choose and change for like $5 a month, and you can make your PFP whatever you want it to be, and it can be on chain and figure out that piece as well if you want. But there will always be a select few projects that will pull a ridiculous amount of value, I'm pretty sure, and an outsized amount of value. Like punks, I think 10 years from now, they're not going to not be punks. And they've already established, I think they've hit escape velocity. And I don't think you can say the same for any other PFP. You just can't. There will probably be a few more that reach that escape velocity, but I think it's too soon to tell. Like, if you go pull something off and other side is the next Fortnite, then the first 10,000 apes will probably be there. But that's a long shot, right? That's a small percentage chance. If Pudgy Penguins becomes the next Disney, or not Disney, but like significant Peppa Pig or whatever, then those 8,888 are going to be ridiculously valuable. There will be a few more, but the vast majority will not go crazy price-wise. There will be, but that's like the crazy price speculation. The reason the price goes up so much on a lot of these is the collectability element. It's not the art, it's not the IP, it's the rarity and the collectability and having only one of 10,000 or 5,000 in a world where millions of people might want it. The other element is like the membership and the community element, where it's a identity PFP, but it also doubles as a membership token accessing you to giving you access to a community, basically Zen Academy, denizens. And I think that there'll be a lot more of those that remain valuable, but they probably won't get to the 5 figures or maybe not even the 4 figures. It might be just reasonable value. What utility do you get? Is it a couple $100? And like, as we're trying to map out a sustainable business, it's like, in a world where there's royalties, perhaps we can give everything away for free. But now that there's not, it's like, all right, we got to charge for courses. We got to, charge a subscription fee for some services. If you have an NFT, maybe you get a 50% discount, but there's still got to be some money coming in. And so like, what does that look like? What does that do for the price? And so, but yeah, PFPs are just, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, PFPs are simply a marketing tool now for businesses, and that's it, right? Like CryptoPunks, I think is here to stay, and I also think continues to go to the moon, but that's because it's the first of all of them, and so it has that like historical, meaningful piece to it. And like you said, there's just nothing really else that has that. But other than that, I think a PFP to me is just, it's a tool for marketers to use for any business.
Yeah,
which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But previous, it was PFPs were the business, and now there'll be a business, and then they might use PFPs if they want for whatever reason.
100%. Yeah.
And I think we are seeing Web2 businesses or traditional businesses launch PFPs. Often they call them avatars. Last week, we talked on the podcast about Diesel and Fossil launched a watch collection. And along with that watch, you can scan a QR code or an NFC chip, I can't remember, something on the watch, you scan it, and then you can claim an avatar, which it looks like they're leading towards building some sort of digital immersive experience, metaverse, whatever you want to call it, right? Adidas has alts, right? So we've seen Lacoste, like a lot of these existing brands have created a PFP, air quote, collection.
And look at Reddit. Like you got NFL that's minting one specifically for Reddit users, right? And then there's a bunch of other brands that have done things in there too. So there's 18 million wallets that have interacted with these. So like PFPs aren't going anywhere. That's for sure. That's huge.
Yeah, I think that definitely though, if you were to go to any of these businesses, this would have come out of either the marketing department or the innovation lab, right? Like these are not coming out of some revenue generating. This isn't coming out of the sales team or the product team, right? They're coming out of the marketing team or the community team, who is cost center focused on, okay, we're going to spend money in order to amplify our brand, build our community stronger. That's the place that PFPs hold. That's where they land. Kai, are we ever going to launch a PFP at Web3 Academy?
I've been thinking about this whole episode, actually. We'll talk afterwards. Oh, boy. I got to say, Kai's definitely the reason we didn't launch a PFP. I didn't push that hard on it, but I definitely, if it hadn't been co-founder, and if it had just been single founder, I would have launched a PFP. Or if you were a little less of a nice guy, you could have forced us all to do it.
Exactly. Or if I was a bit more aggressive, maybe. Okay.
Probably a good thing.
Then, before we wrap up here, I want to talk about, how did you build such a strong community? We've talked lots about the PFP, but you built a community before the PFP. We've identified that. For all those out there that are, basically any business in the entire world needs to build community. I don't care what your product is. Everybody's got consumers, they got users, and you should build community of those consumers and users, because you build a moat around your business that can last forever. What would be your advice to those businesses? You made a course on how to build a great community, so no better person to ask.
Yeah, to me, it all comes down to being a good person, being genuine and being helpful, and providing a place that there's a lot to talk about with community, but for Zen Academy, it's like attracting like-minded people that are also helpful and good people. So let me zoom out a little bit. When I'm a content creator, I have a newsletter, I have a Twitter account, and I'm posting, a lot of people follow me. That's an audience. That's not a community. A community is when you get that audience interacting with each other. And so like there's currently a couple of central interests. There's me and my content. There's probably NFTs. If I start to talk about like mental health or stoicism, that like starts to play into it. And so that's when like a community starts to form with this idea, but then you need to give them a place to interact with each other. And that's where Discord starts to really play a role. But it's about like having this North Stars, these values that you just, in every interaction at every level of the company from top to bottom, and ideally every community member, they know inherently, you don't have to explicitly say it, but they know how to be a part of this community, what being a good community member is. You can explicitly say it if you want, but like it's helping others, it's responding with empathy, it's about providing a safe space. Again, I'm talking about Zen Academy. If your community is about, I don't know, doing drugs and riding bikes around in the whatever, then you're going to have a very different vibe, perhaps not, but
sounds like a fun community.
Yeah, it does actually, yeah. I look back to Burning Man, which is also about a lot of love and compassion and empathy and stuff. I'm not going to go there. But yeah, it's about just being that way and being genuine and being yourself and having that shine through. So like, I know that I can not open the Discord for a few days and no one's going to be upset or FUD. And if there's an issue, then anyone on the team will be able to handle it and respond with kindness and figure it out. And it's like when people join, we make them feel warm and welcome. And it's just constantly creating a space that people want to be a part of. And like, there's a million ways to do that. And it takes a lot of work as well, a lot of time and effort. And you really just got to show up a lot and finding your 1,000 true fans. And yeah, there's a lot to community building. But to me, the single core thing, and this goes for companies and brands, but personal brands as well, is just being genuine, being authentic.
Yeah, because then you will naturally attract your community. I think it's sort of cliche to say it. And I think a lot of people listening are like, yeah, of course, like you should be authentic. But this is what like a lot of people are missing, I think, is if you look at some of the, let's just take Web3 crypto, that niche as an example. If you look at some of the leading creators in this space, they're not necessarily the smartest people in the room. They're just the most genuine and the most authentic. And as a result of that, they attract the other people that are just like them, right? Yes. And just want to be around somebody who, you know, speaks the way they speak and thinks the way they think. I think a lot of us get caught up on imposter syndrome and feeling like, oh, I'm not, you know, Twitter is the great example, right? Like so many people struggle to produce content consistently, right? It's like, oh, I'm not smart enough. Nobody cares about what I say. And it's like, actually, there's 8 billion people in the world. And I guarantee you at least 1,000 care and think the same way you do. They're just starving for somebody to say it the way they're thinking it, but we're all too afraid to speak vulnerably.
You're hitting the nail so much on the head with all of this. The reason I think not a lot of people do it is it's simple, but it's not easy. It's like being genuine is everyone thinks that they're genuine or that they can be genuine. It's really wearing your heart on your sleeve and your emotions out in the open where I think a lot of people have the temptation, including myself a lot of the time, I think everyone does, to like emulate others or to like fit in with the crowd or to, you know, not rock the boat. And part of building community and being genuine and all of that is being your raw human self out in public. And not everyone's going to like it all the time. And you're going to attract people that dislike you and you're going to have to fight your fears and be like, am I really going to talk about my weaknesses and vulnerabilities and pitfalls? And am I going to X, Y, and Z out for the world to see? And it's not for everyone. It surely isn't, but it's not the only way you can build community, but it's, in my experience, the best way and the way that has worked for me at least. So,
well, I mean, a great example, I was looking at your Substack, your Letters of Zeneca Substack yesterday before recording today, and your most popular post is, I can't remember the name, but it's about expectations.
Impossible Expectations is one, but Infinite Regret is probably the most possible one. Yes.
That's not a business post. That's not a guide on how to launch a PFP or launch an NFT. That's not about ZKs or any, you know, it's not
it's just any human.
It's just you being you.
Yeah. I had a wonderful experience in Marfa. It's probably the best experience I've had in this entire space. They had a barbecue that everyone was at, and it was like last night or whatever. And someone came up to me and said, just wanted to introduce myself and say hello, hadn't met and got to know him. And he specifically thanked me for that infinite regret post, which a lot of people do because it helps a lot of people. But he says it wasn't specifically for him. His mum read it and she had like deep depression, and apparently that like helped pull her out of it. And that to me was like, that makes everything else worth it. It's just like that one moment makes it all worth it.
I just got chills.
Yeah, I was in tears.
Yeah,
I mean, kind of in tears now. Yeah,
I'm serious.
It's very emotional. Yeah,
wow,
but it was a big impact. Yeah,
that's amazing. I don't even know how to transition from that out of that.
Mike can end it.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it just goes to show being raw and human, and like I wrote that. I didn't sit down and say I'm going to write a good post on mental health, and I had no expectations it would do well. I just was feeling it myself one day and said I'm going to write. And I said this the other day. It's like I think the best writing comes when you just have words inside you that you just have to get out, and not when you sit down and go, okay, I'm going to write a good post. Like you can write good stuff and good copy and good content by sitting down and blocking out 2 hours and doing some writing. But when you just have this stuff building up inside you and you're like, I just got to get it out. And sometimes you don't have to publish it, of course, but like if you do, sometimes that can be the best and most impactful writing. And that's certainly a case of when that happened for me.
Okay, I'm going to transition out of here into, I want to talk about our upcoming giveaway next week on the On-Chain Gift Shop. This is week number 3 on the On-Chain Gift Shop. It starts tomorrow. If you're listening to this show on Wednesday, week 3 starts tomorrow, starts on Thursday, and it is Community Week. And as part of Community Week, we are partnered with Zen Academy and featuring Zen Academy along with Web3 Academy, who we believe are 2 of the best communities in the space. And so, as such, if you have a Denny Zen, or if you collect the Web3 Academy newsletter this week for the next week, you can enter the On-Chain Gift Shop and you can enter a raffle to win. We're going to give away 3 Zen chests. We're actually going to give away almost about $500, maybe even up to $1,000 in prizes. We're giving away a bunch of other things, but I mainly want to talk about the Zen chests that we're giving away because that ties into today's show. So we're giving away 3 Zen chests. You can decide if you win, you can get access to Zen Academy's Discord, become a member, one of the best communities, one of the best Discords in the space. I think we could do a whole episode on how difficult it is to build a Discord that maintains attention, right? Anybody can build a Discord of 10,000 members, but then you go in and it's a ghost town. What's unique about Zen Academy is there's people showing up there every day because there's so much to do there. There's so many activities, there's fun conversation, there's lots of people helping each other. So that's amazing. So one of the benefits, obviously, of winning one of these Zen chests is you'll get access to Zen Academy, and then you can decide if you want to burn for your Denny Zen or if you want to keep it as a closed chest or a closed box, so to speak, and maybe see if it becomes more valuable later or, do with it what you will. But really excited about that partnership. Very excited to be featuring Zen Academy in the On-Chain Gift Shop next week. And yeah, good luck to everybody. Hope you win a Zen chest.
I don't know how people cannot burn. I don't have the patience maybe or whatever it is, but like I would burn immediately for sure.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I just need to know what's in there.
There's a bunch of really cool ones. So we had 33 one-of-ones created in the collection, and like heaps of them haven't come out yet. So like there's some really cool traits that haven't been revealed, and yeah, I hope people burn.
If I have the money, I do the buy 2, right? Buy 2, burn 1.
Ideally keep at least 1. Yeah, I did that with Renga. Was a inspiration for this. They had the black boxes, and then you burn them or get the Renga PFP, and yeah, I still have 2 black boxes that I've just kept because you never know.
You never know. Well, we just did a pro report on Bored Ape Yacht Club titled "The JPEG That Made 308 Millionaires." I don't know if you know this, Zen, but 308 people became millionaires off of Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Wow.
From doing on-chain analysis. Very interesting to dive into that and see. Now, that's 300, let me be specific, 308 unique wallets became millionaires. So tough to say, are those owned by the same people? Or maybe there's somebody who owns 10 wallets and trades across 10 wallets. But we know that 308 wallets became millionaires off of profit and loss from trading Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Crazy.
Which is wild. But one of the interesting things that report really shows you is the value of the Bored Ape Chemistry Club, which is the serum that if you burn, you can burn it into a mutant ape yacht club. And the value of the serum has almost always been higher than the value of the mutant. And if anything, it's gone up because the supply, there is never going to be more supply of the serum or of
it's surely deflationary.
Right? And more people burn, the supply goes down. I mean, I think there's 518 serums left for so few left. It's so I don't know. If you win, you tell us what you want to do, whether you want to burn or not. Okay, awesome. Before we wrap, Zen, I just want to ask you a couple of fun questions. Always fun to have such a big thinker on the show. What's one prediction you have for the rest of 2023?
I only got a couple months left. Let's see. The rest of 2023, I mean, I'm a broken record with this, but I think generative art will have another moment. Like, it'll be in the spotlight again. I think it's coming around soon. Just like being in Marfa a few weeks ago, just feeling the energy there. So many people, 700 people turned up to this event. I feel like the storms are brewing, and I'm already seeing like more and more people get interested in generative art, and it's growing as a genre and category and within NFTs. And I think that if not within the end of the year, in the next 2.5 months, I think in the next 6 to 9 months, we'll see a really significant resurgence of interest in that area.
Cool. One thing you've bought recently for under $100 that brings you joy?
You know what actually brings me joy is I really started buying this, showing the camera, the sugar-free gum. And it's strawberry flavor, sugar-free chewing gum. I'm doing like intermittent fasting and trying not to eat much throughout the day. I cut out most sugars and processed foods. And also I read this book recently called Breathe or Breath, I never know. And it's all about how to breathe better. And one of the things is like how our jaws have been shrinking because we only eat processed soft food now. And one thing you can do to like combat that is to chew gum. And so now I bought this, and like every day I spend like 2 hours just chewing gum like, while I'm doing other things. And it's like, it's delicious. And then it's like, I feel like I'm helping my body, and it's like, it just brings me joy. And
I love that.
Definitely under $100. You get a lot of it for $100.
That might be the least expensive product that anybody has said what we've had.
There you go. Oh, actually, I have another one, if I can.
Yeah.
I bought this pipe off Amazon because we have a pipe trait in the Denizen collection, and it's like my favorite trait. And so I just have it sitting on my desk every now and then. I'll just put a pipe. I don't smoke.
Do you smoke?
No. I like the idea of smoking. Maybe this isn't one that you really want to smoke in. I think it was like $5 or something. But yeah, I mean, it brings me joy. Oh, another one, fidget spinner. I bought a fidget spinner because I have a fidget spinner trait in the collection. And I'm always fidgeting with things, and it's purple. And I have all these trinkets on my desk. And yeah.
We got to do an episode on Zeneca's desk, apparently.
Yeah, desk.
Yeah.
Oh, you got the nouns glasses. Yeah.
These are a gift. But yeah, I got a pretty fun desk, actually, now that I think about it.
I love it. Okay, last question. I don't think we asked you this last time you were on the show, but 2 times. The first time you were on the show, we asked you this. I'm not going to tell you what you said, but I'll tell you if you have the same answer. If you had a billboard that 1 billion people were going to see, what would you write on it?
Oh, I can't remember what I said.
It's not a test as to what you said.
Yeah. So like,
whatever you're feeling now.
What I'm feeling is actually not on my desk. But
It's something else on his desk.
Just on his desk.
Oh my God. Hang on one sec. So I've got this notepad that my partner got me, and it's engraved at the bottom. It says, Si vis amari ama, which is Latin for, if you want to be loved, love. And it's a quote from Zeneca, my inspiration of my screen name and favorite philosopher. And I think it's a great sentiment. It's like everyone wants to be loved, and in order to do that, you should love first.
It's very good. I like
Beautiful. This was a different podcast than I expected. This turned into a beautiful, heartwarming podcast.
Sobering, motivating. Those are some of the terms I would say. It was a great episode. Thank you.
Yeah, I had fun as well. I got to show off all my desk things.
Zed, I didn't give you I skipped your shill. We always give our guests a chance to shill.
I feel like we've spent we've chilled Zen Academy a bunch, and that's the thing I want to tell people about. Yeah, come check us out. Join our Discord. You can pick up a Denizen on secondary, get a Zen chest, or buy a Denizen directly. If you can't afford one, go to our website, zenacademy.com, and there'll be an enroll button. You can mint a free student ID. That'll get you some access to the Discord. You won't get access to our courses and everything else, but you'll be able to be part of the community. And yeah, we'd love to have you in there.
Amazing. Thanks so much for the time, Zeneca. Really excited to continue to connect and watch you build and everything you guys are doing at Zen Academy. Fantastic to see.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. It's been awesome watching everything you're doing over at Web3 Academy as well. And so very, very just happy to be here.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Web3 Academy, your one trusted source to capitalize on the next big phase of the internet. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it and subscribe or follow so that you don't miss the next one. While you're at it, there's a link in the description for our free newsletter where we provide timely and relevant Web3 insights so you can confidently build and invest in Web3. Make sure to subscribe today. One final note. This podcast is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Crypto and Web3 are risky, and you should never invest more than you're willing to lose. Thank you, friends, and see you in the next one.